In the headlines, the suggestions already coming in for a new DLP candidate to replace former Soufriere MP Ian Pinard, who resigned on Tuesday. Rosa predicted to have a population exceeding 20,000 in 20 years' time. And the Ministry of Trade spearheads training in competition law and policy as part of preparation for implementation of the Economic Partnership Agreement with Europe. I'm Andrea V with the Channel 5 News. Details after this.
But rest assured, my dear friends, rest assured that we shall never abandon Ian Pinard. Rest assured of this.
A shocking and sad moment, especially for supporters and members of the Dominica Labour Party, after the resignation of Ian Pinard as a Member of Parliament on Tuesday. Pinard announced he was bowing out as parliamentary representative for Soufriere at a special meeting of the Soufriere Constituency Association on Tuesday night. Pinard won his seat in the December 2014 general elections against UWP's Higgs Adams. He initially contested the polls for DLP in 2005, but in 2009 stepped down, citing health reasons, allowing for Sam Martin to win that seat on a DLP ticket. Pinard first resigned as a government minister 2 months ago, following allegations of unlawful and inappropriate conduct with a 15-year-old girl.
But ladies and gentlemen, the pace of our constituency improvements was slowed considerably a few weeks ago, when unfortunately my name was mentioned and I became implicated in a series of rumors that have now developed into a scandal of national attention and interest. I have been advised that I ought not to underestimate the impact this entire episode is having on me, mentally, physically. I have been advised that I need to pay attention to my health and to the demands of this case during the coming weeks and months. Accordingly, I met earlier Honorable Prime Minister and informed him of my decision to resign in the seat of Parliament. This was one of the most difficult decisions that I've had to make.
Pinard told his supporters the court matter has prevented him from functioning properly as their PAL rep.
I would be lying to you if I said this entire episode has not had an enormous impact on me emotionally, psychologically, and physically. I do not want the people of the Soufriere constituency to suffer as a result of this necessary but lengthy process towards what I am confident will be my exoneration. This is not what you voted for, and this is not what you deserve. I shall work selflessly to ensure that my successor is elected and that he or she presents themselves worthy, not only of a seat in Parliament, but more so, worthy of a seat in the Cabinet of Ministers. And in fact, I will be the campaign manager for the new candidate.
Meantime, a new DLP candidate for the Soufriere seat has already been suggested, and plans are ongoing to prepare that person for a by-election. DLP political leader Prime Minister Skerrit, while holding back tears, says he was touched by Pinard's honor.
We shall not throw him to the wolves or under any bus. His happiness is our happiness, and his grief is our grief. His pain is our pain. His struggle is our struggle. We wish you well and give you the assurance that your place in the bosom of the Dominica Labour Party shall forever remain accessible to you. Because we in this Labour Party are not in the business of destroying our own people. You are part of us and we are part of you. And rest assured of our absolute commitment to you.
Skerrit has planned a meeting with the Soufriere Constituency Association in preparation for a by-election.
Clearly, a by-election will have to be held in this constituency within the next 90 days. As Ian said, we do not want this to be a long, drawn-out process. We want normality to return to this constituency in short order. Accordingly, I will be meeting with Ian and the members of his constituency group later this week to commence the process of selecting a successor candidate and ready in this constituency for battle. It is Ian's wish that we win, and I'm saying here and now, I want to win big as a tribute and in honor of the outstanding work of Ian Pinard in this constituency.
A land development expert is warning that Roseau will have to prepare for a growing population as it is predicted to be a primary settlement area in 20 years.
That's according to a population allocation of the proposed National Physical Development Plan. The plan proposes that by 2035, Roseau will have a population of 20,882. Roseau's population since the May 2011 National Census is 14,725. The Physical Development Plan has also named Portsmouth and Marigot as primary settlement areas and expects growth in their population too. So by 2035, Portsmouth's population, as reflected in the plan, will likely be 5,909 and Marigot 5,016. The assessment is coming from Rory Bash, a senior planner with 17 years in rural, town and urban planning at Canadian-based firm Dillon Consulting. He says the proposed development plan has looked at where the country's population should be going. He says the Greater Roseau, or the outskirts of Roseau, will grow through redevelopment projects.
Because there isn't a lot of land to go on, so we can't go outwards, there would be, if we're going to accommodate any significant amount of population over the next 20 years, what we may see in Roseau is more likely some apartment buildings and row housing and that type of thing occurring, where we would be able to accommodate some more population. So instead of going outwards, we're probably going to be going up a little bit. So, 3, 4, 5, 6-story buildings in various areas where that would be appropriate. That's how other communities are trying to facilitate growth where they're surrounded by climate change risk areas. They don't have the ability to grow onto adjacent land, but so they're intensifying and going up.
In addition to human settlement, the Physical Development Plan guides development in tourism, industry, infrastructure, agriculture, and natural hazards.
There are some climate change risk, and it may not be wise to see significant growth, but we acknowledge that people will still want to settle there over the next 20 years. So what we're doing is we're acknowledging some of those areas because they are still regional centers and there's facilities there, and they will continue to be a draw. And so for a place like Grand Bay, we do expect to see some growth and development, just not as significant as it would be, for example, in Warner, because Warner has really not too many climate change risk constraints, whereas Grand Bay has some very significant ones. So that's how we are looking at population and allocating it and planning for growth going forward into the future.
The proposed National Physical Development Plan is a project of the Physical Planning Division. The draft is being refined for presentation to Cabinet. Idona John Baptist, Channel 5 News.
Exposing public and private sector representatives to the basics of competition law and policy is expected to help advance Dominica's capability in implementing the CARIFORUM EU Economic Partnership Agreement, EPA. Representatives of the DAIC, Dominica Bar Association, telecoms companies, Ministry of Finance, media and consumer NGOs received Level 1 training on competition law and policy at a sensitization workshop on Wednesday. This training initiative is provided through collaboration between CARIFORUM and the EU. The Caribbean Forum, CARIFORUM, established in 1992, is a subgroup of the African, Caribbean and Pacific Group of States and serves as a base for economic dialogue with the European Union. Wednesday's seminar was delivered by a competition expert from CARICOM Competition Commission, the CCC.
We are hoping to get everyone to understand their role in competition law enforcement, civil society, which includes consumer protection agencies, as well as the media, who have a very important job in reporting any business conduct that is out there that might be anti-competitive and might potentially harm consumer welfare. With the EPA and the closer integration between CARIFORUM and EU, what happens is that there is the risk that instead of national protectionist arrangements being put in place, we now have arrangements being put in place by private business enterprises that would try to prevent opportunities for us in the Caribbean within Europe. So it's very important for us to know what is competition law, where we can go to make a complaint, and the arrangement that the CARICOM has with the EU to try to stop any anti-competitive business conduct that might harm trade between the two regions.
The Ministry of Trade is responsible to promote and encourage fair competition.
But the ministry has been embarking on a program to educate consumers, to introduce laws, to protect consumers. And how competition fits into this, we need to be able to protect our consumers. And we have the regulators here. We have the National Telecommunications and Regulatory Commission. We have the Independent Regulatory Commission. They deal with energy, electricity, telecommunications, and they basically look at all the companies that operate within the sector and try to ensure that competition is fair. Now, fair competition is important to consumers because consumers win at the end if you can control and regulate competition in the market.
The Economic Partnership Agreement, EPA, is a trading agreement between the CARIFORUM group of African, Caribbean, Pacific countries and the European Union, signed in 2008. The final draft of an integrated coastal zone management policy for the OECS region is being refined for adoption by member states.
Representatives of OECS states participated in a review of the policy in February in Antigua with the intention of providing feedback towards advancing the document. The proposed policy includes coastal setback guidelines, which make provision for disallowing construction in a protected zone nearby the water's edge. Setbacks are often defined as a prescribed distance to a coastal feature within which all or certain types of developments are not allowed. Project coordinator of the OECS Climate Change Project says once completed, the document will be presented to member states for their approval.
So you're looking at all of the ridge to reef kind of arrangement to help protect your environment. We've also done coastal setback guidelines, which will guide developers as to how close they can build to coastlines, mangroves, salt marshes, all these kind of things. We have the final draft right now, and we're just doing some final checks with it in terms of reviewing it internally. And then once that is done, then each country will be getting a copy of that policy for them to implement.
Coming up, the Health Department steps up fogging activities. We'll have more when we come back. Thank you for staying with us. The Caribbean Broadcast Media Partnership on HIV and AIDS is hoping to have 100,000 people tested for HIV by the time the organization celebrates its 10th anniversary in 2017. Currently, 70,000 people in the region know their HIV status, but chair of the World AIDS Campaign says there is a lot more work to be done.
We also are trying to work towards the UNAIDS challenges that the Caribbean has been given, which is 90-90-90 by 2020. Let me explain what that means. It means that 90% of the people know their HIV status. So you know if you're HIV positive or HIV negative. Of the 90% that know their status and are positive, we want 90% of those positive people to get on antiretroviral treatment. And of those who are at an antiretroviral treatment and in care, we want them to have what is called a suppressed viral load, which means that the presence of the virus is almost undetectable. That's a good thing because it means the risk of you transmitting the virus to someone else is considerably minimized.
Dr. Lecoq says the ultimate goal is ending AIDS by the year 2020.
I think in the Caribbean, we can have an AIDS-free generation by 2030. We can't reverse those who are positive now, but we can certainly reduce the new infections. And that is where I say we still have a lot of work to do. Very often our campaigns and our education is targeted at young people. In my view, based on everything that I've seen across the Caribbean, we now have to target people over 50 who are the ones that have a problem using condoms and protecting themselves. We have a number of myths about that. And I think when we look at new infections, they are highest between those who are 19 and 24 years old and those over 50. So who's having sex with whom? If you have no babies born with HIV for 6 years in Barbados, it's possible. So let us work towards a generation that does not have AIDS.
Fogging exercises have intensified around the island as the Environmental Health Department is now in emergency mode to combat the adult mosquito population. This increase in activities in an attempt to significantly reduce the growing adult mosquito population on the island. The adult mosquito is known for transmitting diseases such as Zika, chikungunya, and dengue.
The department is in emergency mode now. We actually have set aside 3 days in the week where we go out to do mosquito-related work. So on a Tuesday and a Wednesday and a Thursday, all environmental health officers are doing mosquito work. We usually use fogging, especially in disease situation, when you want to bring down the population of your adult mosquitoes. So with Zika circulating in Dominica, we have increased the fogging over most of the places in Dominica. As the CMO said earlier on, we have a number of cases of Zika, and we actually doing activities to ensure that we try to curtail the spread of the disease.
Carbon says despite the fogging, there is still a high number of adult mosquitoes. This is attributed to water drums, which serve as a breeding ground for the insect.
With the passage of Erica, where you have some areas that do not have constant supply of water, people store water. But the way they store it is that a lot of time these drums are left open. Because one of the first things people say to you, oh, we do not drink the water and those things. So they figure that they do not really have to protect it. But the downside of it is that it breeds mosquitoes, and mosquitoes continue to get us sick.
Carbon is hoping for the stricter enforcement of a particular regulation so that Dominicans will be deterred from breeding mosquitoes.
We also have a mosquito regulation 2003 that we have not been using enough. It actually criminalizes mosquito breeding. So if somebody breeds mosquito at their home, that person can be brought before the court and the person can be charged for mosquito breeding. It is not being enforced enough. So one of the things that we're looking at is doing all of that education and hoping that we can now actually look at the constant breeders. It's a regulation under the Environmental Services Act, and the penalties are pretty stiff.
And talk of a major road project to be undertaken in Layu. The parliamentary representative said this week that farm roads in the area would be receiving attention soon.
In reference to the farm roads in the constituency, particularly those in the Layu Valley area, we are aware of the conditions of those roads. In fact, I have visited all of those roads myself personally, and this Thursday, I'll be going to meet some of the farmers on the farms in the Layu Valley area this Thursday. But we are aware of the roads. Two of these roads, they are highlighted under the BAM project, as well as the Miro Cuba Cow Road. But these two, the Atley and the Niba Road, they are also under the BAM project, so we'll also be paying some attention to them.
Tropical Storm Erica had a devastating impact on roads in the Layu Valley area, and Mr. Daru says some rehabilitation works will be undertaken prior to the start of the major road projects.
After Erica, some of them received some extensive damage. We were able to collect all of these roads so the farmers could have access to the farms. You will recall that just in the Clagol area, the river washed that area completely, and the farmers had no access to the farms. We had to cut a road inside by Shark Boy to come out on the other side of Ababrough, right there. So the farmers from that area could access to the farms again. We also had to clear some of the major landslides in the area, which we've done, and have given the farmers access. So what we will do We will provide some temporary measures in the meantime before the bigger project commences to at least alleviate the plight of the farmers who access the roads and their farms in the Lehigh Valley area. So that's how we plan to address that matter.
That's news. Kenny Williams next with your sports highlights.
Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us. First up in sports, 30 young footballers will be hoping to improve their skills as the 2016 Digital Kickstart Clinic runs from Wednesday to Thursday this week. The training, taking place at the Windsor Park Sports Stadium, is facilitated by Manchester City Football Club coaches. On Saturday, the youngsters took part in an exhibition match, including players from the Newtown Juvenile Academy, local sports personalities, and Digicel brand ambassadors. This is the second time the clinic is being held in Dominica.
2 years ago, Digicel Dominica actually hosted the Digicel Kickstart Clinic program for the first time. 2 years ago, we engaged a different football club, but this time around, we're teaming up with Manchester City FC. Essentially, it's the same sort of program. At the end of the 2-day clinics, the Manchester City coaches will select 3 boys, and these 3 will move on to the Digicel Kickstart Academy in Jamaica a few months later.
Following the training camp in Jamaica, 8 footballers could get a chance to train in the Manchester City Football Club's ground.
Following the academy, the Manchester City coaches have seen it fit to actually afford the boys something further, so they will choose about 8 of them. Hopefully our Dominican boys will be among the 8 that they choose at the end of the academy in Jamaica, and these 8 will go on to have the Manchester City experience in England. So they will be at a 1-week training camp with the Manchester City Football Club at their campus in England, essentially getting the training just like that of the Manchester City boys themselves.
Digicel Dominica partnered with the Chelsea Football Club in the last clinic. Bouncing on in basketball, where the United Insurance Sharks and Police Sports Club will be getting things going in the Division 1 match at 7 p.m. in the 2016 Flow DABA League on Thursday. Following them will be E.H. Charles crossover, going head-to-head with Jays Limited Sonics at 9 in a Premier Division match. The games are carded for the Massac Court. Still in sports, Prime Minister Skerritt says sports can play a key role in generating economic activity in the community of Layu. Speaking to residents this week, the Prime Minister said the beach was not meeting its full potential.
We are not making sufficient use of the wonderful beach which we have in Layu. I see the beach in Layu right at the back of this place as a golden opportunity for us to derive or to make economic opportunities out of it.
He says a variety of sports could be facilitated at the beach in Layu.
Why can't we host here maybe once a month or twice a month, what have you, beach volleyball in Layu? We used to have it many years before. Why can't we have small goal and have teams from different parts of the country come in, not only during the Titiri Festival, because we have seen the impact of the Titiri Festival.
Football action takes us to the Pori and Newtown playing fields in the 2016 Dominica Football Association All-Island League on Thursday. Pitted Savan Dream Team will come up against Andy Williams Spartans Football Club at the Pori playing field at 5 p.m. Then in a doubleheader at Newtown, Maxroy Classics Foncolé will battle Times Ballers Middleham United from 5, followed by Daddy Chess Bath Road Ambassadors versus White River Ballers at 7 p.m. Back on the cricket scene. The efforts of Dwayne Bravo helped put pressure on the Delhi Daredevils in the final over to help Gujarat Lions defeat Daredevils by 1 run in Wednesday's version of the Indian Premier League. Lions batted first and scored 172 for 6. Brendan McCallum top scored with 60, while Dwayne Smith assisted with 53. Imran Tahir picked up 3 for 24 for Daredevils, Chris Morris 2 for 35. Delhi in reply cut it close with 171 for 5 in 20 overs, but were unable to launch boundary shots in the final over to steal the win. Chris Morris scored 82 and Jean-Paul Dumney 48 for Daredevils. Dual Kokarni took 3 for 19 and Dwayne Bravo 1 for 40 for Lions. That's all the time for sports. I am Kenny Williams. Join us again next time.
Stay tuned for Flashback.
Welcome to another exciting Flashback segment where we take you back into our archives of news events which occurred in Dominica. In 1994, the streets of Roseau, particularly in front of the government ministry on Kennedy Avenue, saw faces of the bus drivers, taxi drivers, truckers, and their supporters who were against the increase in license fees. If I were to stand on this street on this date in 1994, I would be ducking for cover.
The executive of the Dominica Taxi Association met with the Prime Minister and Cabinet just a short while ago. The association had proposed to government that a 75% reduction be made on the recent increase. That is, the vehicle licenses should only be increased by 25%, and we're talking all categories.
We were not able to give them any positive information because we have not been able to get all the information we want ourselves. But it's not only a matter of just reducing the rate, as some people think. It's more than that. It's a matter of deciding what we have to cut out in expenditure when we reduce the rate. Because you know that by the time you have looked at how much money you're going to collect, you have already decided where you're going to spend it.
The opposition also attempted to brief the drivers and their supporters on the status of the government's decision, but that also did not resonate well with the crowd.
Immediately to reduce by 50%, so people are to pay more than 50% right now. Okay. The balance on the 50%, they will give us an answer next week on that.
Wow, let's fast track to today. According to the department responsible for vehicle licensing, moving forward from then and presently, vehicle license fees are based on vehicle weight and can be paid annually or biannually. A new highway maintenance levy was added in September 2015 to the annual licensing fees. Thanks for joining us on another segment of Flashback. I am Janik Delmar Samuel. See you next week on another interesting news event from our archives.
Your weather report is next.
Good evening, viewers. Welcome to tonight's weather broadcast. I am Janelle Macpherson. Infrared satellite imagery today showed multi-layered clouds mainly across the Leeward Islands. Skies over Dominica today were partly cloudy to cloudy. Radar imagery indicated some limited showers across the southern portion of the region. The weather for tonight, partly cloudy and hazy with some brief showers mainly across the east coast. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, hazy and breezy conditions with some brief showers can be expected. Seas tomorrow are expected to be moderate with waves peaking up to 7 feet. Small craft operators and sea bathers are advised to exercise caution. Looking ahead for the next 3 days, tomorrow, partly cloudy, hazy and breezy conditions with increasingly cloudy skies and showers by the weekend. Across the Caribbean tomorrow, a high pressure system will result in partly cloudy to occasionally cloudy skies, hazy and breezy conditions. On the international cities forecast, cloudy skies expected in New York, generally fair weather conditions in Miami, London and Beijing, thunderstorm activity in Caracas. Sunrise tomorrow at 5:43 a.m. and the sunset at 6:23 p.m. For up-to-date weather information, please visit our website at weather.gov.dm or call the weather hotline at 447-5555. Thank you for viewing and have a good night.
To end the news, the headlines again. Suggestions already coming in for a new DLP candidate to replace former Soufriere MP Ian Pinard, who resigned on Tuesday. Roseau predicted to have a population exceeding 20,000 in 20 years' time, and the Ministry of Trade spearheads training in competition law and policy as part of preparation for implementation of the Economic Partnership Agreement with Europe. Feel free to contact us at news@MarpinNewsApril27th2k16. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Andrea Lee, and to all our viewers around the world, thank you for watching. Join us next time.